Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Jacques. I'm the CEO of Broadpeak, and I'm going to talk about a use case of a content provider who is deploying some local caches in Mexico, actually, with a cable operator. So like that's going to be my message. Netflix, they put the cache in different NSP network, telecom operators, cable companies. So now we're seeing more and more, content providers bringing their own cache into the telecom or cable network. So in terms of the agenda, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Broadpeak. Then we're going to review the different challenges of delivering OTT video. And we'll follow with some steps that can be done or taken to optimize the delivery, the quality. And finally, we're going to review the detail. We're going to deep dive into the HBO Latin America case study. So quickly, who are we? Who is Broadpeak? So we are a global leader in video delivery technology. So we provide carrier-class technology to a lot of telecom operators or cable companies. You see them at the bottom of the screen, like Orange or Beeline in Russia, Partner, or Deutsche Telekom, for example. We also work with many different cable providers like TDC in Denmark, TechSavvy in Canada, or Starhub in Singapore. We provide technology to satellite operators like Eutelsat, for example, and we also work with content providers such as HBO Latin America, the one we're going to look at. So it's software only. We are the one leader when it comes to innovation, of course, and we believe in best of breed. So we will work with any transcoder components. We work also with a lot of service platforms, more than 20 of them, and we're very good with the support. We have an office in Denver, we have an office in France, and an office in Singapore to make sure our customer can call us anytime. So what do we do at Broadpeak? So we sell delivery technology, streaming technology for live on demand. We also provide cloud PVR and multicast ABR. It's an application for optimizing the live OTT delivery. We also provide services to customers who don't have a data center where they can put the equipment or the technology itself. So we provide for CDN services, but also for CDN selection, and finally for analytics. Some numbers. Our technology is used to stream 2,000 petabytes every month. We have like 150 million users who can access videos through our technology. And finally, we have a capacity of more than 8 terabits that is deployed. So now enough with Broadpeak. Let's look at what are the different challenges for anybody who is trying to deliver OTT. So the OTT players, they are operating in a very competitive market. I don't know if there are any fans for cycle races. I love them. And it's like a quick reminder of Peter Sagan, who won like the Paris-Roubaix last week. So he's been doing good. He's a champion. So the champion for equivalent for OTT would be Netflix. You're seeing the ranking on the left, from Parks and Associates. But these guys are struggling, so they are really fighting to make sure that they can get the money from your pocket for the subscription video on demand, and not by themselves. So there is a strong competition there. And even if Netflix is dominant, they cannot, rest on their user base. They need to make sure that the engagement is big and it remains. So this is the size of the bubbles that you're seeing here. Basically, the bigger the bubbles, the better the engagement. And you see that you have to make sure that if you're offering an OTT service, that people will stick with your system, and they will watch a lot of video minutes. And all things being equal, it's all about the quality, definitely. So if you look at the rankings here, so this is some data we have from Forrester, and what it's saying, of course, it needs to. For it to be compelling, you often need to work on the TV, that's for sure. It needs to work on any device. You need compelling content, of course. But then, what is very important, all things being equal again, is what is the quality that you're delivering. And the quality can be measured in different ways. So one way of looking at it, one KPI, is the startup time. So we can see, you have some studies. This is a Nakama report showing that If the startup time takes more than 2 seconds, then people will start losing you. Maybe you may lose like 10%. If you go over 8 seconds, then you're losing half your audience. So then it's a nightmare. You need to make sure that you control your startup time, that it's consistent and fast. Another KPI, which is buffering, and it has also a very strong impact on the engagement. So what you see here is that as soon as you got buffering, the audience will drop, from 10 minutes to less than 30 minutes. People get annoyed, with buffering, of course. The third KPI is video bitrate. And this one has a different impact on the engagement. It's more a medium impact, I would say, because for VOD, it's hard to say because people watch on the device, and this is going to drive the bitrate. So you cannot really infer whether a bigger bitrate is going to drive more usage. But for live is sports. You need a lot of bits for live. So of course, you will see a big difference when you have more bits to offer, more bandwidth. Then you'll get a better engagement, and the people will stick to your service. So what are the OTT delivery challenges that you're facing if you are an OTT pure player? Well, one of them is that even if you use a good CDN as a service, you don't know what the telco or the cable operator relationship is with that CDN. We've seen a lot in Latin America. Some people, they cut or they limit, they throttle down, the access of their end users to Netflix, for example, so that they can have like some available bandwidth for email or for other applications. Live is different. Is definitely an application that is hard to deal with because it's hard to know or forecast what is going to be the usage. And when it breaks, it breaks. We all have the same experience. You're watching live. Usually it works when nobody's watching. As soon as everybody wants to look at it, it goes away. So if you're using multiple CDN, which is a good idea, you may have some issue reconciling all the analytics that they provide because they are not based on the same data, so it can be complicated. The CDN choice that you make for North America might not be the good one for Latin America, or even the one in Latin America globally might not fit the Brazilian market, for example. So you need to look at it. Of course, the cost that comes with it. I remember Canal Plus saying, well, you know what, we feel very good because we have a strong engagement, people who watch the game. But then, at the same time, we're worried because we're going to have to spend a lot of money in that CDN. So CDN cost is definitely an area of concern, and the failover. We've heard like recently that Windows Azure was down. It can happen. It happens to the others also. And so, what do you do then? So you're out of luck. You don't have a service running then. So if you look at this, the cost, if we focus on that one, if you're talking about an average bit rate of 2 megabits, people are watching 60 minutes in average, so that's an assumption. 100,000 subscribers, it equates to 2.5 petabytes, and you can see it's a big budget. So that budget will be very high if you are like in an area like Latin America or Middle East. It will be a little bit cheaper if you are in APAC. It's going to be much cheaper if you are in Europe or in the USA. So again, this is driving some demand for optimization in areas where the CDN cost is very expensive. So how can you optimize your delivery? How can you work towards getting a better experience and then a better engagement? Well, the first thing that you can do is that you can control your own origin server. Because if you work with different CDNs that do the origin for you, then you may run into some different issues. So you need to make sure that you control the quality. You are able also to provide some cloud PVR, time shifting applications, which people love, and you're also able to deal with the different formats in terms of packaging. So. And in terms of encryption, you're much free also. You're much more free because then you can decide which DRM and you're going to use. So if you do that, so you control the quality of your content. So that's one. You have the ability to work now with several CDNs in the smart way because they're all pulling the content from the same place basically. And again, you can do the non-linear TV, which people love. So that's the first step. So the second step, when you've done that, when you have your origin, you can now start deploying a multi-CDN architecture, and you can decide, on which rule you're going to allocate one CDN or another one. So it can be like based on where people are, it can be based on the cost, it can be based on the time of the day. You could say also, I want to use this CDN for that network service provider and a different one for another one. So it also gives you some centralized analytics, so you know what's going on. You don't need to reconcile, the different data you're pulling from the different CDNs. And if you do something in your client device, in your application, then you can do some really smart things like a multipass. That's what we call diversity in our case. So you can do seamless failover and some very fine, like optimization of the traffic. So again, the benefits of this multi-CDN is that you maximize the quality of service. Then you start having a leverage in terms of when you talk to CDNs, because you can tell them, you know what, I have a very good CDN here. I mean, it's not perfect as yours, but I'm paying much less money, so can we just find like an agreement where I can like lower the price? And of course, because it's simplified, you're totally in control, so you know what's going on. So multi-CDN, it's a key, But I believe that the most compelling way of improving the quality of experience is basically to do what Netflix is doing. So the idea is that you are an OTT provider, and if you bring your cache into telecom networks, cable networks, then you have a good opportunity here to improve dramatically the quality of experience, and to reduce your cost because you're not taking too much from the CDN anymore. You can pre-cache in advance because maybe you know that there is a big event, and you need to be ready for that. So that's something you cannot do with a regular CDN. That's something you can do with your local cache. And at any time, if your cache is full, you don't really care because you can like fail over to the CDN as a service. So it's like an easy way to improve quality of service and reduce costs. So this is what happens when you don't use any local cache. What happens is that you need to, all your audience is pulling the content, and you need to pull it from the CDN. So you're going to pay for every bit, going through that. So if you're using a local cache, then you're going to only to pull the content once, and you're going to cache it on your local cache. So that one will deliver all the popular content that is basically what people watch. So that's the bulk of the traffic in that case. So it reduces your cost. That's for one, and also it improves your quality of experience because you don't have any traffic issue. We were talking about peering point or transit. A lot of operators in areas where transit is expensive, they throttle down, and because they don't want to pay these bills to the tier 1 operators. So again, it's a big benefit there. That's what Netflix is doing. This is like a diagram from Netflix. That's what they're doing, So, and you can see that they were mentioning the CDN fees. They didn't want to pay for that. They wanted to have a very good control about what's going on. So that's what they did. They put some local cache into the telco and the cable network. That's what they do. They say it's free. All you have to do is feed it. You feed it with power. You cool it. You take care of it. But I'm going to provide the technology, and I'm going to provide of course, the box itself if the operator needs it. So when you do that, you have a total control of your traffic in a specific zone, because you can say, this telco is important for me. I have a large audience. I need to put a cache there. You can reduce the cost because what you're pulling from the cache, you're not going to pay. You pay for it, definitely. And this cache that you put in the network operator network is going to reduce the buffering. Is going to improve the startup time. All these KPIs, all the bitrate, all those KPIs we looked at earlier are going to be improved. So it's going to make a big difference. With that, if you have all this, if you start doing your origin, if you start doing like your multi-CDN, your local cache, well, if you bring some analytics on top of it, then you're in good shape because you know what's going on. You know if the local cache is getting full. You know exactly what is the experience like. So you have the ability to deploy more caches or maybe to change the location. So the centralized analytic benefit is pretty obvious. So again, you have a view whether it's coming from Akamai, level 3, your own cache, so that's pretty simple. It's also a good way to do some end-to-end troubleshooting. What's going on? Is that my CDN selector that is not working well? Is that Akamai or level 3 that is struggling? Is my cache down? So you know what's going on. And you have also the ability with the audience monitoring to know how your marketing campaign is going. Do you need to change something about it so that, again, you can improve your revenue? So it's a big advantage. So this is a summary, this is a full map of what we can do for OTT providers who want to optimize the delivery, of their content and to maximize the quality. That's how they can differentiate in this very competitive environment. So if we deep dive now in the HBO Latin America use case, the one, so HBO Latin America, what they're doing is that they have their own channels. They are also taking care of channels from others. They have also some on-demand and TV everywhere content. So they are like a very big player. So they're based in Miami and also in Buenos Aires. So they're a big player in Latin America. And what is their use case is exactly this. So what they've done is that they've chosen one Mexican operator that was very important for them because it had a lot of subscribers, and they put a cache there. And the system dynamically will send the request to the cache. So the way it works is that the system knows if the end user is located in that network. If it's located in that network, it will pull from the cache. If the cache is not available or it's full, it will push to actually will get it from level 3. So that's the idea is totally dynamic. And the idea for HBO is to multiply the number of operators they can work with so that they can really, improve the quality and work hand in hand. It's also a benefit from the operators because they lower the transit cost. So it's really a win-win in that case. So, what is the lessons, from this? What is the return on experience? So what they've measured that they've seen that the startup time went down 30%. So it's a big win already. You remember the engagement numbers we were looking at. So they are able to be like one of the reference in terms of startup time. The other impact is that they've noticed that the end users are able to navigate on the higher profile, the higher bitrate. So the user experience is much better, when the content is getting pulled from the local cache compared to when it's pulled from the CDN itself directly. So viewers are happy, they remain on the higher profile, and it makes a big difference again for HBO. In terms of cost, they are pretty secret about the cost, of course, but we've made some calculation here is that you can see that if the cache is efficient enough, so when they dimension the cache in terms of the storage, in terms of the speed, in terms of the model, we have different t-shirt size, like equipment for them, and if they can get to 66%, they can reduce of caching efficiency, they can reduce the cost 35%, which is huge. It makes a big difference. We looked at the numbers, so it's like $750K US dollars per month. So it's a huge difference. So this finishes my presentation. We have this on our booth. So our booth is like maybe 100 yards this direction. So we'd be happy to show you the box. So we're featuring the box itself. We have a specialists that are there to talk about it, to give you more information. If you want to know more about this specific project, would be happy to do that. So SU 10801. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So if you have any questions. No question? Oh. Okay, she's going to bring the mic. Amanda. Thank you, Amanda.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Sure.
It seems like what you described applies really well to VOD content. Well, what about linear content? Does it work the same way? Or?
Yeah. Actually, I believe it's even more compelling on the live content because the cache efficiency is huge, And VOD content, you have a challenge of dimensioning the library, to make sure that, because if there is a lot of long tail in your catalog, it makes it a little bit complicated, if you want to high cache efficiency, you need lots of storage. But for live, everybody's watching the same channels. So you can keep it in RAM, in the broadcast box, so it's even more efficient, I would say. So, and the benefit is that this is the one that will break first. When the audience goes up, this is the one that will break. So at least that if your network, if you are a telco or a cable company, and your network is decently dimensioned, then you will be able to deliver that content. So. Also the cost, for live, the concurrent cost, and maybe the CDN won't be able to deal with it because there is a difference between something you can master in terms of a use case and something that can go crazy if the event is important, like the soccer, football, like MLB. So yeah. definitely. So it works both ways, and I believe that it's more compelling for life. So yeah. Right.
So you talked about unifying the analytics across the different providers that you've got. Can you talk about that a little bit more in the context of, content metrics, advertising metrics? Is the idea you're saying that if you've got a local CDN, you're able to manage the hops and therefore get closer to the original session data?
Yeah, definitely. So if you manage your cache, then you can get some very accurate data from this point of presence that becomes yours now. So you have the ability to know exactly what's going on. I believe that still having information from the network is very important, but by combining it with information you get from the player, from the application, like for advertisement, like you said, for what the people are actually experiencing, it's still a must, to combine the network together with what you have on the applications. Yeah. Thank you.